And just picking back on that question, because another way to flip it is to almost via kind of Trojan horse entry of, I don't know, coming up with a better drill bit or something such that you're in, you become vertically integrated. You start with a tool and then you add kind of the AI on top of it such that you're present with every core sample. Have you ever kind of thought about it that way or partnering with someone?
Where this gets really interesting is if the AI is working at a core level, can it work on a chip level? So it's a lot less expensive to drill and produce chips than it is to produce core, for example. And so it's a chip off a drill bit, as opposed to pulling a tube of rock out. You're just letting the drill go and produce a chip of rock. So like a cutting from the bit, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that's an order of magnitude lower cost to do that collection than core collection. And so if the AI works on a core level, can we transpose it into, call it dust, off drills? And if we can, of course, there's a structural advantage into how the world would explore and develop mines. And so all of this comes with, as part of a larger scale, call it data reconciliation at scale exercise. And that's foundationally what we push towards. I hope I've said that well, Jared.
Yeah, I think I thought that what Grant, you said about the bits and the chips, I'll just confess, I didn't realize there was so much overlap between computing and geology. So all the bits and the chips having as much signal as that was more puns. I don't know why I'm making puns here, but anyway, that there's more overlap between that and the core. That strikes me as just an insanely high return activity for you. In that I would have thought one way I would approach this is just putting aside the current core. How could I collect a ton of data that is of the type, I got the cores, let me just collect a bunch of dust, as you said, or chips or bits, and start building probably actually quite different models than you're used to building, not predictive models, but models that are asking different kinds of questions, like shared embedding models, fusion models, that start to ask the question, what kind of very cheap to collect thing holds 75%, 80% of the information? That would seem to be like a game changer for the entire field of mining. And so given that seems transformative for the field of mining, I would have been happy to put a ton of resources into just that, because you've now taken the most expensive part of this and dropped 2, 3 zeros out of it while keeping 80, 90% of the information. Like, in other words, is there the equivalent of a stethoscope that substitutes for some much more invasive thing? That would strike me as very, very, very valuable.